of what we mean by mental health. This definition of mental health is taken straight from the UN mental health webpage. Essentially, mental health is a state of well-being where we are able to cope with life today is going to focus on the long term, right? So there are three aspects to mental health. One is treating after the problem has happened, but two important parts of it are being preventative and also enhancing mental health. We'll talk about it briefly. Mental health is what people the most. When we normally think of treating mental health, the traditional approach tends to be very much focused on treatment, which is after the fact and super expensive. And it tends to focus on emotional, psychological, and social aspects of mental health. Like emotional means, can we handle stress and emotions? Can we handle anxiety? Psychological is, can we change the thoughts to control thoughts? Maybe think of happier things. It's more like positive thinking. And social is, can we manage jobs and relationships? Can we manage the environment around us to be truly sustainable? Which is what more about this in a bit. And finally, instead of thinking of mental health as just maintaining and managing the jobs and relationship, think of it as a spiritual quest, right? Realizing our peak potential. That is really what will unleash the happiness within us. Next slide, please. I just wanted to go through definitions. You may hear these words through some presentations, and I wanted to define them ahead of time. Like incompletions are, next slide, please. See, powerful cognitions go beyond positive thinking. They go towards transforming our beliefs. Many of us tend to grow up with very limited view of ourselves, not due to our own faults. It's because the world, imagine in a school, a teacher evaluates students. They only have a single way of evaluating students based on their own rubric. If a student doesn't fit into that rubric, then the student is graded low, and then the student grows up thinking that they don't have great potential, although they may be extraordinary in doing certain things that no one else can, right? That is as being limited by our humanness, but actually liberated by our humanness. So it's a different way of looking at yourself. Next slide. Great. I'm going to now hand it over to Dr. Peter Bloomfield, and he's going to...
Next slide. And this offers thousands of free programs online to the global community. There's a large, diverse team of faculty, campuses all over the world, and many, many millions of people have benefited from the teachings of Nityananda Hindu University for all the people that are living there. He's also revived many dimensions of Hinduism, the powers of Paramashiva, the scriptures, temple rituals, and lifestyles for enlightened living. Has revived the Sacred Arts University that has created a million deities for enlightenment ecosystems to use worldwide. And there's more than 16,000 KAILASA ecosystems functioning that provide many services. In that, it goes beyond the mind. So efforts to powerfully address mental health have started to look at a mind-body system. And we'll be talking about it a little bit later about things like the biome and the physical structures of how the mind and body interact and the brain and body interact. And then we're positing that it also can extend to consciousness, and that how we experience our mental health is going to be a reflection of our mind and our body and our mind for individuals out there who may be watching for the masses that can move towards a space of enhanced mental health. So the first topic we're going to talk about is cellular effects of mind-body intervention. So this was a 3-week program called Inner Awakening, again organized by Swamiji and run directly by Swamiji. Involved activities like yoga, meditation, initiations, which we're going to talk about what that looks like at the EEG level, a sattvic diet, the science of completion, which we'll talk about as well. And participants' blood were drawn before and after. Some of them would have already been part of this enlightenment ecosystem, would have already known Swamiji, and some of them would have been new. So basically, gene expression change means the DNA may be, or may or may not be, but even if it's the same, the way the genes are being expressed is changing remarkably to tamp down inflammation and to support anti-aging. So you should be less stressed and more young, right? That's what we'd expect at the level of the organism. So based on that research, and this one was studied. The first one was published in Advances in Aging. The follow-up study was published in a journal called the Journal of Stem Cells. And based on the first study, they said, let's look at telomerase activity and let's look at peripheral blood stem cells. Telomerase is an enzyme that works to keep the cell generical, but it was around that time, they measured mitochondrial metabolism through a test called the MTT assay, which is a surrogate for cellular viability, which is specifically a product of mitochondrial metabolism. So mitochondria are the organelles inside the cell, and done through teleconferencing, just much like how this meeting is going right now. So we looked at 4 different scales associated with mental health. One is the DASS, which stands for Depression, Anxiety, Stress Scale. One is WHO-5, which looks at overall sense of well-being. One is SF-36, which looks at overall physical health and some aspects of mental health as well. And the last is MAAS, which for the depression score, anything above 10 means depression. 5.7 is the average. For this, the post scores were 2.7, so much lower than average and very far from depression. So this is going to show up as a really great state of well-being. And then we looked at anxiety. Above 8 is considered as an anxious person. The average in the US is around 6, so almost anxious. And for example, one population we looked at in research was women in infertility. The score is about 53. In many, it'll vary around the world, but many populations will be around 50 or so. In our participants, they started around 60, and then went up to around 80 afterwards. So 80 is a huge sense of well-being, extremely high sense of well-being, really profound. And you can see again, if you look at started off at 4.29 or 4.25, so almost at the level of a Zen meditator at the beginning. And again, this may reflect some people were already involved with this life of mindfulness. But at the end, it went all the way up to 4.8, 4.65. So each jump. The paired analysis just missed statistical significance. The p-value is 0.51. The trend, I think, speaks for itself. In this PET scan of the brain, when Swamiji would activate his third eye through his will, the area that's called the mesial-frontal lobe, which is where the frontal lobes meet, right at the area where the chakra of the third eye, as per Hindu structure, Hindu spiritual anatomy, right where that is, that area would light up in the brain when he would activate his third eye, which I think is really fascinating. And then on EEG, which measures brain activity, and then again, that neuroscientist noted, this is a quote, Swamiji demonstrated a remarkable ability to shift between brain states during meditation, samadhi, which is like a superconscious state, it connected with the yogic tradition, and healing conditions. It said he is always in a permanent state of meditation. Then this is the one that I think is most fascinating. There's a Dr. William Collins. This was done in 2005 in St. Louis. Extreme gamma activity in the whole brain. Also, when he did just a general healing that wasn't specific to the person in the room, again, their whole brain of that person would go into a high gamma activity. So we're positing that this is how an EEG of initiation looks. When a being who has attained this state of consciousness, which I'm calling as a super consciousness, EEG and the person he healed were completely refreshed and energetic afterwards. And the doctor said, if I had done this, I'd be fatigued and sleeping by the time it's over. So for some reason, this intense metabolic activity of the brain did not cause fatigue. It caused rejuvenation. And then he said, the world is not going to believe this. This is extremely unusual. This would be, we'll go to alpha waves here. Alpha waves are the next state. They go from 8 to 12 hertz. This is if you're awake and alert and kind of receptive. Could be a listening state. Many of you guys are in alpha right now. If you close your eyes, you go into heavy alpha waves. And then beta waves would be if you're like taking a quiz, doing a task. If you're at work doing a task that requires your mental activity, it's 13 to 25 hertz. So when the muse speaks to the artist like that. It's also connected with enhanced creativity. Interestingly, in populations and individuals who have very little baseline gamma activity, they're much more likely to develop Alzheimer's dementia. In individuals who have a higher baseline, like very low levels, I'm talking that you need a QEEG to detect, they're not going to have dementia. Alzheimer's. They would go into a oneness and compassion meditation. They could go into sustained gamma. That's the only other time that I'm familiar outside of Swamiji and what I'm going to talk about that we've seen sustained gamma. But it was in long-term meditators while they were deep in meditation. So what we've seen that's unique and different and that I've not seen described anywhere else is lines. There's 1 second. you can see the whole brain is in gamma. And this person can go on and off at will at any time. While they're talking, while they're doing anything, they can just do it at will. They describe intense bliss associated with that, intense oneness. I've also seen another disciple who can do slightly lesser at will, and I've seen a few others that go into a very high beta, almost on the cusp of this, that's extremely atypical for normal beta activity. Contact us, because this is a field we're excited to dive into. A lot more research has to be done. Real quickly, some lifestyle things. I'm not going to go in detail because I'm over time already. But mind-body consciousness approaches can create this possibility of really powerfully enhanced mental health and intense states of bliss and higher consciousness. The yogic science, basically, you'll develop good mental health on the road to enlightenment, is how the yogic science works. Lifestyle, sattvic diet, and fasting. Later, another presentation is going to talk about these things. Detoxing with herbs. Puja is a ritualistic.
Thank you, Dr. Peter. What I wanted to say here is that Dr. Bloomfield talked so much about the state of space which actually denote that kind of a state, right? So there is a meditation. We just wanted to play a little video about a meditation that can help you get to that state and calm your mind down. Like very often we are.
It should be audible now.
Nothing, maintain, fight with, try to destroy. Anyway, engage. Do not do anything with your internal thought process. Just unclutch. And I tell you, it will develop such powerful will persistence in you. Such powerful will persist. You are beyond your thinking process. You will sit with yourself in a very matured way, highly matured way. Sit with yourself with highest maturity. Unclutch from all thought process. Just sit, be unclutched.
Yeah. One thing I want to say, we're going to give you a few minutes just to go through this unclutching. It's a great experience. I think it's really worth seeing that how simple a process can really bring your stress levels down. So I would really advise you to you would see that. So just close your eyes. We're going to play music for a little bit, and then just keep unclutching. Every time a thought comes, just unclutch without engaging with it. Please play the music. visible to you. Sometimes the blood pumping through your heart becomes more audible to you. Unclutch from those also. So there is as you hear things, those are also thoughts. They're triggering thoughts inside of you. So next time, just keep unclutching deeper and deeper, and you'll see this deep sense of silence coming in. So it's a great technique. You can try it anytime.
But also pathways or circuits of communication between different brain regions are important. I'm going to be showing how, so at this point, studies in depression, yoga, meditation have, kind of quantified the mood based on validated scales, looking at anxiety and depression. So again, we're highlighting how just lifestyle measures, which cost very little to nothing, such as yoga, meditation, and diet, can make a huge impact. And it could reduce the costs associated with current treatment model based on medication cortex, which is important in regulating our emotions. And it's not only about us, but it's how we bond with other people, how we interact with others, so social attachments. It turns out pain processing pathways are negatively impacting depression. And one way is maybe the cingulate cortex. And even our ability to empathize with others are affected due to loss of brain cells in the cingulate cortex. Also, depression negatively impacts the basal ganglia, which is a part of the brain involved in pathways for reward, motivation, and feeling pleasure. And so we can go on to the next slide. So not only, move on to the next slide. So what has been really, in a way, groundbreaking is that initially we thought that brain cells, we have a limited number of brain cells or neurons, and once they're gone, they're gone. But it turns out certain practices, especially yoga and meditation, can actually lead to neurogenesis. We're actually generating new emotional awareness, processing of language and speech, as well as empathy. So being able to empathize with others and relate to others, interact with others. All of these areas are very important for that. And these are enhanced with increased amount of brain cells in yoga practitioners. Very interestingly, there's an area of the brain called amygdala, and this is involved in processing fear pathways. This is sometimes called it's a important part of our very primitive brain attention, and controlling the autonomic nervous system, such as the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, parietal cortex, hippocampus, temporal lobe, anterior cingulate striatum. These are also involved in emotional processing, some of these areas. Very interestingly, the prefrontal cortex is more active in practitioners of meditation. And one thing that happens when the prefrontal cortex is activated is an important brain chemical called glutamate is released. And this then sends a signal to another, which is important for helping us to have a sense of well-being. And this level is reduced in people who are depressed. But meditators at baseline have a higher level of serotonin. And it, in fact, further increases after a meditation session, which is very interesting. They also tend to have a lower level of norepinephrine. This is a brain chemical associated with anxiety. And they've been shown to have increased amounts of dopamine as well after. And looked at a brain chemical called GABA, which is very important for regulating our mood and reducing anxiety. And they showed there was a significant improvement in the amount of anxiety and depression that they were experiencing before and after, to the point where many were no longer depressed.
Word healthy gut microbiome. So before we talk about that, we should know what gut-brain axis is. So basically the brain is connected to the gut by a vagus nerve. So what it means is what happens in the gut affects what happens in the brain. So using the anxiety and depression. So this is one impact. And the second impact it does is that it improves the bowel movements. So basically what it does is, since it is high in fiber, so people get relief from constipation. And so there is less of inflammation in the gut lining. So it reduces all the inflammatory bowel diseases and as well as the autoimmune diseases. So in nutshell, basically, the healthy microbiome is caused by whole food plant-based diet. Next slide. For the video.
We're waiting for you to quickly go over this slide.
Okay, yeah, so inflammation is higher in some people with depression. Whole food plant-based diet reduces inflammation, antioxidants, phytochemical, and promotes a balanced neurotransmitter system. Elimination of animal foods reduce inflammation and carcinogens, as I was telling you. People who ate raw fruits and vegetables versus cooked or canned fruits and vegetables had significantly improved mood. And as I talked about, processed and packaged food are harmful.
And die, that gets recorded in that muscle memory and biomemory. When you eat that, you will fall into depression for a small reason. Your husband late from the office for 5 minutes is enough to make him as a late husband. Understand? No, for a very small reason.
Are crucial for mental health. And lifestyle changes are critical and sustainable. And objective scientific information now is available showing that yoga and meditation actually expands parts of the brain which are vital for mental health. And the plant-based diet also improves that brain-gut chemistry to improve mental health. So there's various lifestyle practices had with that.
Sure. I always practice whole food plant-based diet, but through Swamiji, I came to know about Nirahashamena, which is really a step above that. So essentially, you feel much lighter, your energy level goes through the roof, and the last, your meditation deepens like amazingly to a deep, deep level, in the sense that you're not doing meditation, it is kind of happening to you. So it's a different state to be in. And I found this to be amazingly powerful technique. I think, Dr. Shanti, you may have also got...
People would comment on that, wonder what I was doing. And so I definitely also experienced those similar kinds of benefits,
when I was doing it, I felt like saying, darn it, I should have done it earlier.
Yes, yes, very much. So I wished I had, I really didn't know about any of this before Swamiji. So
after that, it's completely gone. I don't take any antihistamines. I'm completely, and after that I did 2 times of Rahara. Even with the first time, it disappeared. I thought this is,
which is a pranayama breathing exercise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Because we are running out of time, I'm going to go through this very briefly. But and roll your tongue and just put it outside of your mouth just a little bit so that your tongue is sticking out like this. And then deeply inhale through your tongue and then exhale through your nose, right? Like this. And you will actually feel it in your chest, in the middle of your chest. If you don't feel it, try breathing in a little bit more deeper. Continue doing this. And breathing out, that's 1 cycle. Do it 21 times. It's very powerful. The next pranayama I'm going to teach you is called Anapana. It's very simple. It's breathing in through one nostril and breathing out through the other nostril. So you start off by holding your thumb, pressing your right nostril with your thumb, and then breathing in through only your left nostril. If breathing out makes you feel stressed, because I'm asking you to, right now I'm going to only teach you the humming part. Just close your eyes take a deep breath, and then hum deeply and intensely without stopping, like as long as possible, just hum. And then when your humming stops, now, while you're doing this, for a more intense hum, you can actually close your ears also. Like put your fingers on your earlobes and close them, and that will intensify the hum because the sound hums inside your head, and very soon your okay, relax. How many of you could feel the humming reverberate inside your head even after the humming, you stop humming? Right? You would feel that humming inside your face and in your chest. So the more you practice it, if you do it for like 21 minutes, okay. Here I'm going to talk about sustainable mental health and AI. I have practiced, AI for a very long time, and I've applied AI to multiple different domains. And most recently, I've applied AI to education. And AI is an amazing area and if you have a phone and if you have internet access, unfortunately, more and more people around the world are getting access to the internet. Having access to free spiritual AI solutions online is actually a great way for us to give mental health access to people. Let's go to the next slide. Today's AI is actually super powerful. It can be very conversational in asking questions and getting answers. And it can be very personal. It can be personal working through today. But if we overcome these challenges, using AI at scale for helping people with mental health is a very powerful solution. With that, I want to say a little bit about Nityananda.ai. This is actually a solution that Nityananda KAILASA has developed as a scalable solution for people to ask questions and get answers. It's very easy. Go to Nityananda.ai, or you can use the barcode that's how my wife will feel. What do I do about it? This AI makes use of the, if you can pause the video here, Peter, just for a second. It uses the core principles that Swamiji's taught in terms of what spiritual principles are for living, like authenticity. Authenticity is living to the highest potential. Responsibility is feeling like everything in and around you is under your control. Beings, I'm just highlighting the different areas. The next question about someone saying, my sister and I are grown up. Whenever I ask my sister to spend time with me, I feel disappointed, and she wants to do things that are different from me. What do I do? So this now addresses how to think about this in a self-reflective way, how to introspect into the source of where this challenge comes from. Why do you feel unimportant? Why do you... Yeah, this next section is about asking for yoga and meditation techniques for de-stressing, and it chooses techniques from scriptures and shares them with you. Anyway, that's the quick demo. Let's move on to the next section. Okay, now I hand it over to Dr.
The National Institute of Mental Health here shows the incidence of mental illness among women. 1 in 5 women experience a mental health issue every year. Women are diagnosed with anxiety and depression twice as men. 25.7 reproductive health issues like polycystic ovary, endometriosis, infertility can lead to stress, anxiety, and depression. Gender-based violence, women are more likely to experience domestic violence, sexual assault, and emotional abuse. Social pressures and roles. Women often face societal expectations to fulfill multiple roles like caregiver, professional, and homemaker. And body image issues like living in the era of social media on beauty concepts and appearance leads to eating disorder, low self-esteem, seeking help, but failed outcome. The treatment methods are making people dependent on medication, and more medication, it becomes a vicious cycle. So when we look at the modern day approaches for treatment, it can be varying from psychotherapy to hospitalization, depending on the severity of the mental illness, where transcranial magnetic stimulation can be used for depression. Sometimes hospitalization when women become danger to themselves and others, and also it's an expensive way of treating mental illness. So many of these current treatments primarily focus on symptom management rather than addressing the underlying jurisprudence. Says where women are worshipped, there the gods rejoice, to the welfare of humanity. On the other hand, where they are not honored, all rights are futile. The second one by His Divine Holiness, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashivam, his presidential address on November 7th, 2021, our women here. So the political empowerment, Paramashiva declares in Atharva Veda, women should take part in the legislative chambers, put their views on forefront. So women hold 80% of leadership positions in KAILASA. While KAILASA's policy stipulates that 33% legislative positions should be held by women's policy against sexual harassment and exploitation, and it creates the most safest environment for women on planet Earth. At social prominence, Swamiji has worked tirelessly for gender equality, not only in the economic society, but also in the spiritual and religious realm. The Sannyas Sampradaya, the monastic indigenous women to become again financially, to get financial freedom and emotional support. EN Pregnancy is a great program where it supports pregnant women for having a painless delivery and a blissful birthing experience. So by looking at all this, empowering women's projects happening in KAILASA is very powerful.
Nothing to do with it. It is something to do with your inner quality. And next word, awaken. Only the feminine energy, sacred feminine, need to be awakened. You already have too much masculine. The whole world is suffering with too much masculine energy. If at all politics can be handed over to women, so much good will have happened to the human society, human civilization. Unfortunately, see, if it was handed over to women,
bringing the best within them, like leadership, stability, powerfulness, and divinity. And from my personal experience, I have like 14 years of medical education and practicing for 25 years of women care and being there in women during their most sensitive time, pregnancy, delivery, taking care of all age group women. I want to share only after being part of the KAILASA, multiple initiations from Swamiji, the multi-dimension of myself that we realize, and also that I want to give a true statement here to all nights. And I do pray to my Parashakti and Divine Mother Energy to bless all women all over the world with excellent health and bliss, and bless me with the wisdom and energy to serve women always. And Swamiji.
blurted out, vomited by your immature mind. Listen, pen down. Do completion 2-3 times. Sit with mirror. Actually, I tell you, if you sit with mirror and chant Mahavakya and do completion, you will see me in the mirror. Then all your patterns are complete. Till you see me in the mirror, do completion mirror. Your form will disappear and my form will appear there. Till then, sit in front of me, chanting Mahavakya. Pen down all the incompletions, fears, anger, guilt, impossibility, patterns which tells you no, you need to be dependent internally, externally other than Paramashiva appearing.
Now we invite Dr. Patel to come talk about children and mental health issues.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Sailesh Patel. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in California. So, as adult and women, children also have unique challenges. Number. We know that conventional approach have not been enough to address all these challenges. To address these challenges, it is crucial to address it at an early age. And prevention is one of the key component. Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Sri Nityananda Paramasivam, had given solution of supplementing conventional education with Hindu education system, which is mind-body consciousness-based education system, and it can be sustainable. Rank of 95.7 for copy phase and 89.91 for recall phase. These high scores are indicative of above average results. So this is impressive numbers. On the next slide, we have numbers from Sloan IQ test, which is highly validated intelligence. More studies are needed. But in summary, can we have next slide? This gives anecdotal evidence of integrating Hindu education system with conventional education at an early age in children, leading to impact in intellectual and mental health and evidence of whole brain activation and high level of thinking. Policies need to change to integrate such education into conventional curriculum. And of course, as I said, more studies are needed for this evidence, but policies to change and integrate this education into conventional curriculum would be a good.
Really, many of their goals would be achieved by adopting this lifestyle. At NHU, the Nityananda Hindu University, we aspire to be a world's leader in the study of mental health, of enlightenment, and of superconsciousness. And we very sincerely and formally and informally invite anyone who's interested in researching this possibility, this phenomena that I think is available here in ways it's not been described otherwise. So we invite policymakers, we invite academicians, and other politicians, anyone to contact us to see how we can bring this to the world to attain and achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals and bring higher possibilities of mental health and overall life and potential to the global community. So with that, thank you so much for everyone who came. If you're able to stay, we invite you to stay for our kriya, which will be led by Dr. Mukta Ananda.
In this energy circulation, energy flow, if there is a disturbance in some part, for example, liver, kidney, or heart, intestine, at some part, if there is a disturbance in this energy circulation, that is when you start developing diseases and disorders.
Different parts of the body. Let us take the example of a water tank. A water tank is a structure which stores water. This water is distributed to different places through the pipelines, which forms a circuit. The pipelines end in outlet taps through which the water reaches the end users. Similarly, the Kundalini energy reaches the different parts of the body through the 72,000 nadis or energy channels. Let's say, for instance, there is a block somewhere in the circuit of pipelines. Then what happens? There is no flow of water. During kriyas, the energy block is removed. Once the block is removed, the kumbhaka pumps in the kundalini energy, just as the water gets pumped in to the pipeline once the block is removed. When the energy flow is re-established, energy starts flowing and the disease is healed. Pranayamas and kumbhakas, wherein they are more effective, and the individual asanas and pranayamas.
Even for few seconds, if the energy circuit route is aligned and energy is pumped, you are out of the disease. You are out of the disorder. 7 ingredients. 1, yoga. 2nd, kumbhaka, pranayamas. 3rd, visualizations. 4th, verbalization, means chanting of some mantra internally. See, internally when you create the sound, it's called mantra. Externally when you listen, it's called chanting. So, mantra, internal verbalization.
Yeah, I can just walk everybody through the kriya. It's actually, the kriya has 3 steps. It's a kriya for hypertension, which also relieves stress. Hypertension essentially is a high blood pressure, which happens because of stress, right? So this kriya has simple 3 steps. It actually builds on top of what we did before, right? Earlier with your knees drawn in and your heels touching as close to your body as possible, you just have to look ahead. That's the posture. Peter will show the picture. That's the 2nd step. In that posture, you just hum intensely. And the humming is something I already shared with you before. And so the 3rd step is lie down, and in the bliss of the hum, the humming creates in close to your chest, and then do intense humming. That's for 7 minutes. And then finally, we leave you with the lying down and unclutching. And typically, this combination of these 3, doing this before you go to sleep, is very, very powerful. It will de-stress your entire body very beautifully. Okay, let's start with Nadi Shodhana. If Peter, you could play the music. can play the music too, Peter. Thanks. And unclutch from all thoughts. When you unclutch from your thoughts, you will start focusing more on the music and the sound outside of you. Unclutch from that also. Great. Thank you all. I really appreciate all of you for coming. Peter, I hand it over to you to wrap up.
Yes, thank you so much, Mukta, for your beautiful job, and thank you to everyone who made it this long. We really appreciate you coming. And again, just a last invitation for people to join the Paramashivaham program or contact us at Nityananda Hindu University about research collaborations, funding collaborations, anything that you want to collaborate with. And we really believe that this science will absolutely 100% help the UN achieve their sustainable development goals, and are excited to further collaborate with you.